The chill of a whispered secret. Doesn't it cling to the soul like a shroud woven from regret? Imagine, if you will, the slow, insidious grip of an unseen hand tightening around your throat. Not with physical force, but with the suffocating weight of your own transgressions. What price then would you pay for a love born of betrayal and cemented in blood? Could the echoes of a broken vow ever truly be silenced? Or would they merely lie dormant, waiting for the perfect, petrifying moment to shatter your peace? This is not merely a tale. It is a chilling testament to the indelible stain of sin. An inquisition into the fragile architecture of the human mind when confronted with the spectral manifestation of its darkest deeds. Jason Wells, a man whose ambition was matched only by his profound self-interest, often found himself gazing out at the vast, desolate grounds of Oakhaven Manor. The ancient stone edifice, perched precariously on a windswept bluff overlooking the churning waters of Blackwood Bay, had been Vivian Sterling's legacy, and now his. He had married her for it, for the Sterling name, for the unquantifiable wealth she represented. Skylar Hayes, Vivian's erstwhile bridesmaid and now Jason's wife, often joined him at these windows, her pale fingers tracing patterns on the frosty panes. Her eyes, once alight with a predatory gleam, now held a haunted, restless quality, darting nervously at every creak of the old house. The manor itself seemed to breathe, its aged timbers groaning in protest against the ceaseless maritime winds. Its isolation, once a strategic advantage in their carefully orchestrated crime, had become a cage of their own making, a silent, stony witness to their shared culpability. The memory of Vivian, a woman of ethereal beauty and unwavering trust, hovered like a miasma in the grand, echoing halls. Her discovery of their illicit affair, a betrayal that had soured the sweet promise of quickly as it appeared. The mirrors, particularly the ornate full-length looking glass in Vivian's old dressing room, became a source of growing anxiety. Skylar found herself avoiding it, a primal fear clutching at her whenever her reflection seemed to waver, just for a moment, hinting at another, more spectral image lurking behind her. Jason, observing her increasing agitation, tried to rationalize it, attributing it to the stress of their new life, the lingering guilt. He too felt the subtle shifts, the way the temperature would drop inexplicably in certain corners of the manor, the faint, shimmering distortions in the air, as if heat itself were being drawn away. One evening, a crystal decanter filled with amber liquid shattered on its own accord, sending shards scattering across the polished floor. Both Jason and Skylar froze, the resounding crack echoing unnaturally through the silence. Later, Jason would find a single, perfectly formed shard of glass embedded in the arm of his favorite armchair, cold to the touch, sharp as a needle. He pulled it out, a prickle of unease unsettling his composure. The manifestations grew bolder, more deliberate. Objects would shift. A porcelain doll on a mantelpiece would turn to face them. A framed portrait of Vivian would inexplicably tilt askew. The grand clock in the foyer, which had remained silent for decades, began to chime erratically, its mournful bongs resonating through the manor at unpredictable intervals, each strike a hammer blow to their fraying nerves. Skylar, now deeply paranoid, began to speak of Vivian, not in hushed tones of regret, but with a frantic, desperate fear. "She's here, Jason," she would whisper, her eyes wide and bloodshot. "She knows. She's watching." Jason, though increasingly disturbed himself, tried to maintain an outward calm, a veneer of rationality. He hired a string of housekeepers, each one leaving within days, citing an inexplicable presence or a pervasive bone-chilling cold that seemed to settle in their very marrow.
Ballroom. He followed the sound, his heart thudding against his ribs. The ballroom was bathed in an eerie phosphorescent glow, and in the center of the vast empty space, a towering, ethereal figure stood. It was Vivian. Her wedding gown, tattered and translucent, shimmered with a cold spectral light. Her face, though beautiful, was contorted in an expression of unimaginable grief and furious vengeance. Her eyes, once warm and loving, were now black, bottomless pools that radiated an unholy cold. As Jason watched, mesmerized by a terror he had never known, she slowly raised a hand, and from her fingertips, razor-sharp shards of ice began to materialize, swirling around her like a miniature blizzard. The scratching sound intensified, now clearly emanating from the ballroom windows, which were rapidly frosting over from the inside. Skylar, meanwhile, experienced her own escalating torment. She began to see Vivian's reflection in every polished surface. The polished floorboards, the antique furniture, even the surface of her morning tea. The reflection would not mimic her movements, but would instead stare back with those vacant, vengeful eyes, sometimes offering a faint, chilling smile. The voices began too, soft at first, then growing in intensity. Vivian's voice, whispering accusations, recounting the details of their betrayal, twisting Skylar's own words back at her. "You called me your sister," the ethereal voice would hiss, "even as you plotted my demise." The house itself seemed to participate in this psychological torture. Skylar's hair began to fall out in clumps. Her skin grew ashen, and her eyes, once vibrant, now held the dull, unfocused gaze of a person teetering on the brink of madness. The mirrors were her particular torment. She would often stand before them, trying to outstare Vivian's spectral image, only to find her own reflection slowly dissolving, replaced by Vivian's, younger, radiant, then slowly morphing into a ghastly, rotting visage. The icy blasts would come without warning. Truth had become undeniable. The cold, the whispers, the shattered glass, the omnipresent sense of dread. It was all Vivian. He looked at Skylar, a shell of her former self, and saw only a reflection of his own impending doom. The air in the room grew heavy, charged with an almost palpable malevolence. The blue glow from the ballroom pulsed, illuminating the hall outside their door. Jason heard the faint, delicate sound of glass tinkling, as if 1,000 tiny shards were dancing in the air. Then, the door to their bedroom slowly, silently, began to open, revealing the abyssal darkness beyond, save for the pulsating, icy light. Skylar screamed, a raw primal sound that tore from her throat, and she collapsed onto the floor, her body convulsing violently. Her eyes rolled back and she went limp. Jason rushed to her, but her skin was already bone cold, rigid. Her last breath had escaped her in a cloud of icy vapor. Driven by a chilling sense of dread and an irrational compulsion, Jason stumbled towards the ballroom, the source of the intensifying spectral light. The grand doors, which he had securely locked, stood ajar, beckoning him into the frigid depths. The air inside was beyond cold. It was an absolute vacuum of warmth, a realm where even breath seemed to freeze upon release. In the center of the room, Vivian stood, a shimmering, incandescent apparition, her wedding dress now a cascade of glittering ice shards, her veil a frozen mist. Her eyes, those profound wells of vengeance, locked onto Jason's. She did not move, did not speak, yet her presence resonated with an overwhelming power, a silent scream of betrayal and suffering. Around her, suspended in the air, thousands of razor-thin fragments of glass and ice whirled in a silent, hypnotic dance, reflecting the unearthly glow. As Jason watched, transfixed by a horror that transcended physical pain, the fragments slowly, deliberately, began to coalesce, forming grotesque, distorted reflections of himself and Skylar, their faces twisted of Vivian's icy wrath. The final images he saw were not of his victims, but of his own soul, fragmented and broken, dissolving into the glacial void. The ultimate reckoning for their greed and betrayal was not a physical death, but a complete, irreversible disintegration of mind and spirit, leaving behind only an echoing silence and a pervasive crystalline chill. And so, Oakhaven Manor stands, a monument to a love corrupted and a life unjustly taken. They say the wind still carries the faint, mournful strains of a wedding waltz across the grounds, and that on certain nights, if you stand beneath the ancient oaks, you can almost hear the soft, melodic tinkle of breaking glass, like a mournful chime. The price of their transgression, of their heinous act, was not merely their lives, but their very souls, shattered into countless glittering fragments by the cold, unyielding hand of spectral justice. For those who walk in shadows, who sow deceit and reap despair, this tale serves as a chilling reminder. Some secrets refuse to remain buried. Some betrayals echo beyond the grave. And some vengeances are forged not in fire, but in the heart of an eternal, unforgiving winter. What dark secrets do you keep hidden? What unseen eyes might be watching, waiting for the perfect, terrifying moment to reveal your truth?
Thank you for watching my video all the way to the end. This closing piece of music is a small gift for you and for everyone who made it here. If the story in this melody moved you, please don't forget to leave a like. It may be just one click for you, but for me, it means the world and keeps me going. Wishing you a few joyful, relaxing moments.